Hello and welcome, I'm Tafra Gadamu. For the next 10 days, the world's attention is on the Amazonian city of Belém in Brazil, where COP30, the United Nations Climate Change Conference, is taking place. What is this global gathering all about, and what is Ethiopia's contribution to it? My guest, Dr. Yitebitu Moges, a forester, is the REDD Plus National Coordinator. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So it looks like it is now official. Ethiopia is going to host COP32 in 2 years' time, right?
It's very exciting. I think the world has understood the effort Ethiopia is making towards really making the world green, climate friendly. And of course, we have been doing a lot of things. As a country, of course, Ethiopia took the first initiative as a developing nation to really have an economy-wide policy through its climate resilient green economy strategy.
Which was put in place
in 2011 in Durban. That was really a very fundamental step from a developing nation. You know, it's not. And of course, afterwards, we have been also, involved in a number of initiatives like the Green Legacy Initiative of our Prime Minister. Ethiopia has been really very serious in terms of, safeguarding its population from, the various impacts of climate change, like droughts and floods. It has a dedicated institution which is really taking care of, disaster in this country. We have also been working on forest conservation over the past 12 years. Through which we have really reduced deforestation by about 60%.
60%?
60% reduction. It's dramatic, really. So I think the world has, recognized that really huge effort that's being made by this country. So, yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm very much excited, really. And this would really bring a lot of opportunities, in terms of,
And we had a climate summit of sorts about in September.
African Summit number 2 was held in September, and during which African nations came, together, and they discussed on positions of Africa for COP30 in Belém, Brazil. So I think we are leading.
It's interesting because the Bureau of African Countries basically supported Ethiopia's bid to host this. They threw their weight behind Ethiopia and its bid to host.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because, even globally, we are being recognized, as you can see. Really, I have never expected that Ethiopia would have such an opportunity to host this really phenomenal global event. People from around the world gather and in one specific location and discuss, issues on the climate. 30, 40, 50,000 people come, and imagine, this is the touristic impact. Right. You can also think of really the recognition made by different developed nations who would be interested really to unlock some resources, finance, technology, knowledge, to come to Ethiopia and really support its efforts in development and climate change mitigation and adaptation.
And it's happening in the Amazon in Brazil now.
At the gate of the Amazon, yes, and that's symbolic, really. By the way, climate convention was actually done in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. So after 30 years, we are getting back to that same country and in a different location, of course,
right,
to discuss this same issue. It's unfortunate that we have been really discussing for over 30 years, but having the...
We know what the Amazon itself was facing, continues to face.
Yes, Amazon is really, by the way, it's our balance. If Amazon is this is the largest... I think close to 500 million hectares of forest is there.
Right.
It's our lung globally. It produces a lot of oxygen. It also stores gigantic amount of carbon. And if that carbon is actually released into the atmosphere, believe me, we will be burning. The global warming will be too high and with a lot of consequences.
What are the key issues that they are discussing in Brazil then?
Well, forestry will be, I'm sure, at the top of the agenda because Brazil has been a leading nation in terms of really bringing about solutions to climate through forestry, forest conservation, and avoiding deforestation. And they have really, Papua New Guinea, Brazil, and one other country were the ones who started REDD program, reducing emissions from deforestation, forest degradation, as a solution to climate change. So, they are really the proponent and they are the drivers of this mechanism, REDD Plus mechanism, whereby we really try to reduce emissions from the forestry sector in each country, in each developing country, of course, and for which we also get money for our performances.
But it brings aboard diverse actors into this platform. Diverse actors meaning you have the developed West, which was considered the culprits as far as climate change is concerned, and nations from the global South who have basically contributed very, very little to what is in terms of climate change.
That is really what is really sad. Climate change has injustice, The ones who are causing the problem are not really that vulnerable, while the ones who are contributing little are so much really devastated by the impacts of climate change. So Africa, as a continent, is, of course, the worst hit and the least capable to really to make adaptation or resilience to the existing global change. So what is happening? China, 32% of the global emissions, US, 30%, India, like 10%. These are the big countries. Russia, 6 countries contribute about 70% of the emissions. Africa contributes about 4%. You see, where is the problem? It is not in America. It is not in Russia or China. It is in Africa. But impacts include droughts, disease expansion like malaria, floods. Whenever there is rain, by the way, our atmosphere is warming. Because we have a lot of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and it is increasing from time to time, which means that, there is a linear relationship between the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and the warming of the atmosphere itself. So our atmosphere is now warm, and it's getting warmer. And the more it gets warmer, you expect extreme weathers like hurricanes, typhoons, and also our thunderstorms will be stronger. And because it's highly energetic atmosphere. When you were born, Tafara, you had really a mild atmosphere where its energy is really very good, creating very good, temperature, rainfall, and other things. But now it is highly energetic. We have made it energetic because of release of greenhouse gas from fossil fuel burning. So I think now, as a country, we have problems of flood. We have problems of flood that is affecting a lot of lives and even infrastructure, damaging different infrastructure. And you have also drought, which affects crop and animal production, and which mostly is followed by famine. At global level, this warming of the atmosphere has brought really unimaginably devastating consequences. The sea is rising because the ice is melting and entering to the oceans, and even the thermal expansion of the ocean itself contributes to the rising of sea level. And imagine if this rising of sea level has reached to 30 meters, New York, Amsterdam, big civilizations,
will be submerged, yes.
Will be submerged, and imagine what would be the consequence be to humanity. And you have also, this extreme weather. You might have heard this heat waves, or too much rain affecting, lives and crops, ecosystems. So the consequence is really unimaginable. And that was why this convention was actually initiated in 1992, and
as a conference of the parties.
Yes, as a conference of COP, as a conference of parties, we meet every year to discuss on really solutions. And of course, we have, I think, we have certain milestones from these discussions. It is not empty. It is like, for example, I would say, REDD Plus program has saved forests of the developing nations.
Right.
If this program was not supported by developed nations, poor countries cannot really invest in forestry because they have other priorities, food, medicine. No, they don't really, that's not the number one priority. But thanks to the cooperation through REDD Plus, reducing emissions from deforestation, forest degradation, we have globally, we are trying to really reduce deforestation.
This is because of the platform was basically created.
It created at the COP. We have also heard that, the solution for this climate change is renewable energy. And the renewable energy is surpassing in terms of its like contributions globally in electricity supply. It is getting higher than coal for electric generation, It's a change. You have also other, initiatives like the Kyoto Protocol that have really affected the systems and workings of, different governments, including the EU, China. They have created, market mechanisms to address emission from, big, gigantic companies. And, of course, you have really a lot of practices, positive practices, best practices that have contributed to the, a lower emission entering into the atmosphere. Otherwise, if we are not discussing, imagine the world would have been totally different today. Yes.
Ethiopia is participating at this conference. What is it that they are? I mean, you have a delegation there. So, what are they bringing to the table in Brazil at this conference?
Yes, I think things like very important ones. I think the issues that were discussed during the Africa Summit too were climate finance. We need finance really to adapt to the existing change in climate. So the finance that was promised in COP29 is like 300 billion annually by 2030. So even $100 billion is not generated for supporting, developing countries, affected countries, to do their adaptation activities. So finance will be, I'm sure, the most debated thing in this COP. And you will have also, in terms of, finance, Africa is proposing for, debt climate swap, climate for debt swap. Like, if a country has a debt from debtors, yes, yeah. Can you leave us alone so that we work in our country with that money to do adaptation and so on. So swapping money for climate actions would be really an important agenda there. And I'm sure forestry will be discussed a lot, strengthening the REDD Plus and other mechanisms. Article 6 for forestry, because Brazil is really it's an industrialized country, but very much owner of a big chunk of forest globally. So they will also really want to save that forest and profit from the existing mechanisms in the climate convention. So forestry will be really an important agenda. Even fossil fuel, gradually, the problem we have is that, these petrodollar countries don't want to talk about, phasing fossil fuel out for, feeding our energy system. So they always are against that. But I think most countries, they are organizing themselves, like the Africa, G77, and China, even including the West, are really, like Germany and others, are trying to phase the fossil fuel out gradually. I'm sure discussing on phasing down or phasing out of fossil fuels will be an important discussion point.
Is there a unified African climate voice?
Of course, we have African voices.
But there is always a tug of war among African countries in terms of...
They are not. I mean, they don't have the same interest, as you know, because countries have different circumstances. Some countries have oils, some countries are concerned with drought, some countries like Ethiopia are very much concerned with, saving forests or increasing forest cover and trying to, of course, mitigate droughts and floods. As a mountainous country, we need forest. Some countries will be interested in, debt relief. So, I mean, you have to really make some compromises then to really develop a position for such a diverse interest. So, I think they have made that position. They have defined really that position, and Ethiopia is leading in terms of, in terms of making sure that this voice is listened and considered in the negotiation process at COP30.
What challenges do you see in the next 2 years until Ethiopia hosts COP32? Earlier you suggested the key elements would be like climate financing, which is not easy in coming and stuff like that. So the major challenges that we face today will still be there, right?
Yeah.
In 2 years' time, you think?
We have been really, we have the same issue over the past 30 years. So it will continue for sure. Even this COP30, it's unfortunate that bigger emitters are not represented at high level positions. China, US, Trump doesn't believe in climate change. He simply considers it as a fake science.
And I don't think they are participating.
No, they are not participating. Even India, I don't know if they are. They were really active. If they are participating, Indonesia is very active in terms of forest conservation. I think she's very well represented in Brazil. They are really sister countries. Like, they are very far apart in terms of geographic locations, but they are really of the like-minded countries. But America, climate change is really it's affected by different variables. The politics. Government change affects the policies, even economy. All the industrial establishments are based on fossil fuel, and they don't want to shift it into, renewable energy because it is highly uneconomic or very costly. So America would say, okay, I will continue to use my coal and etc. China, there is competition, between China and US, and so they don't want really to lose the pace of economic growth for the climate cause. So this politics is really affecting the process. So even in the COP32, things will not be that different, I suppose.
But does it give, like that, the fact that it's happening on an African soil, would it help African countries in terms of articulating their voices better?
Yeah.
Or making an impact?
Yes. Ethiopia, of course, historically is the seat of African Union. It is the gateway to Africa. It's a representation of the real representation of Africans. And having this conference in Addis Ababa would have, number one, that would draw the attention of the world. Even some countries don't know that there is a country called Ethiopia. So, you would get attention. And that attention brings forth with it a lot of benefits like finance and other supports, technological, knowledge support. And even Africans.
But it would also provide African countries the leverage to flex their muscle?
Very much. I think it's like we are humans, there is always this, stereotyping of things, and they think that Africa will not be able to organize such a big global event. Of course, by the way, Morocco has Marrakech in Morocco, somewhere. They had 2 conferences held in Morocco, one in Egypt, Egypt, of course, the other side of Egypt.
Sharm el-Sheikh.
Sharm el-Sheikh, yes. I think now it is, maybe this was Arab Africans. Now it's the only time that I think we are having this conference in black African soil. So this is, I think, historic, I would say.
Dr. Yitebitu, it was a pleasure having you on my show. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.